Welcome to Autistic Pride Day Symposium here in Melbourne. I'm Kyriakos Gold, and in this session we're going to talk about autistic entrepreneurship. Join me. We're going to start with you, Dr. Zivkovic. You're the fairy godmother of this. That's how I call you. Where are we at? What's going on? Is autistic the new black?
I would say that with regards to entrepreneurship, I think there's an increasing recognition of the entrepreneurial ability of autistic people. And neurodiverse people in general. I've just got back from the UK, like last night, and caught up with Rob Edwards, who's the CEO of the Neurodiversity and Entrepreneurship Association, and it's just taken off. Like, yeah, the interest. He's talking to bank folks and all sorts of people with regards to supporting autistic entrepreneurs.
And what's happening here? We hear of an autistic strategy in the national space, the state strategies. Will they change things for autistic entrepreneurs?
I think we need to do a lot of lobbying. Like, we've already got, in Victoria, there is already an autistic plan that mentions entrepreneurship, so we've really got to get some money behind that part in the plan. In the Senate Select Committee inquiry report that came out last year, social entrepreneurship got a mention, and mainstream entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship got a mention with regards to a great opportunity for autistic people to start and lead social enterprises in this country. So we've just got to get the programs and the funding moving in that direction.
Will, I see you shaking your head? In the sense of, yes, are you agreeing, or was it just stimming?
I'm certainly agreeing with that, and I think South Australia is important in that they've appointed the First Minister for autism as well. So it makes that an accountability of government to deliver, rather than just being a sort of idea on the side, which I think is an incredibly important signal to send to every other state and territory in Australia as well. That if you're going to be serious about something, there's got to be somebody accountable for it.
When Sharon said money, I thought of you straight away. You're in impact investing, you're in investing. Tell me where you sit.
So I co-own a company that invests into women and gender diverse founders of startup businesses. I'm really excited to think that government might be, doing something, but I also think that being as entrepreneurial as we definitely are, that we should actually put our entrepreneurial hats on and work out ways to do this for ourselves as a community. In a perfect world, I'd love to think that we're raising a fund at the moment for investing into women and gender diverse minorities. I'd love to think that we go the full breadth of intersectionality and that we at some point have a fund investing into autistic startups as well. And if it's not me that does it, then I hope others are thinking about that or doing that really soon, because it's a great opportunity that we all need to be jumping on board and supporting each other.
Michelle, when I first spoke to you about coming on to this panel, what was the first thing that came to your mind that you wanted to share?
Promoting entrepreneurship for the autistic community was one thing that I'm pretty passionate about. I think it's a great way to sort of focus on your interest and your kind of special interest and really go deep onto that. So, yeah.
So we've had a chat, Sharon, offline about entrepreneurship and employment. And when we talk to people about entrepreneurship, they're looking at us thinking, well, you're autistic. Like, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? You can't even get a job. What do we say to that?
I'm a pretty damn good entrepreneur, but I'm a lousy employee. So, I'm in my 60s. I think I've had 5 2-year contracts in the employment world, and all of them I was trying to move to my special interests. So I was the world worst. But as an entrepreneur, I'm so focused on what I want to achieve in my interest area And autistic entrepreneurs, we think differently. So how we actually see patterns and opportunities. So we are just natural entrepreneurs with regards, and innovators. So this support, and it's not just tech. So I really want to get across, it's not just tech. Autistic people can see patterns and can be creative around all of their interest areas. So we've got to be careful we don't just pigeonhole autistic people into tech.
What is one piece of advice you would give to an autistic person that wants to become an entrepreneur? What's that one thing that you've learned that you've done really well, or something that you've learned through accident that you now do really well?
It's difficult right now because for an autistic entrepreneur starting off, if they go and see a business advisor, they're going to be taken through an entrepreneurial journey with neurotypical thinking instead of autistic thinking. And so we're very bottom up, want to stay with our area of interest. And if you go in to see an advisor and they're trying to pull you away from your interest area and you're trying to explain to them, no, don't take me away from my passion. It's getting those messages across. It's also, we're bottom up thinkers, so getting a lot of information and data together before actually the complete business idea emerges. That's going to be hard for business advisors as well. So I think we need to do a lot of training of business advisors to understand autistic ways of thinking.
Do we almost need an interpreter in our business to decode our thinking? Like, do I need an interpreter?
I actually think that business mentors need to learn as part of their skill base how different thought processes for different neurotypical people. So for autistic people, for people with ADHD, they need to recognise that people are coming to... Currently we've got a few tools that are just stock standard for developing a business, and we need to actually reassess those so that we can actually match those tools to people's thinking styles.
Will, what are your thoughts on this?
When I start talking with entrepreneurs of any persuasion, where I like to start is with a scribble on a page, because often people are coming with the idea and they need to learn to express that in a way which kind of then shapes and evolves into the eventual form the business will take. And for a lot of people, I'll come with a very precise idea. I want to do this, which is fine. And there are ways and means to progress that idea to fruition. But for a lot of people who think laterally and are visual learners themselves, getting them to actually articulate their idea on a piece of paper or through something like Lego, for example, can be hugely beneficial for them to express an idea that way. I think often saying, what do you want to achieve? That's not always clear to somebody at first. They often come with an idea that's sort of couched in a problem. This is the problem I want to fix. Then you sort of say, well, how do we actually fix that problem together? And I walk with them on that journey rather than say, take this and go away. It's kind of like, I can support you in this so they can reach the business that they're looking for.
What was one thing that you needed help with in your journey, or you didn't?
My journey towards entrepreneurship was often one which came from understanding that I don't suit open plan work environments. And there has been a trend in moving towards open plan work, particularly in professional services. And I found it was completely hostile to my way of thinking, because if you're in a building where you've got a good 2,000 people working all at the same time, your brain's trying to filter out all these different conversations. So for me, I thought, well, I can do what I'm doing now, contribute those skills and expertise towards people who need the help, because a lot of my clients didn't need the help. They're quite well off on their own and they're going to do just fine. But then also doing it in a way which suits me. So in my home office or in another sort of very remote or digital space. So I think kind of understanding that was that open plan environment that was, a bombardment of sensory stimuli was never going to suit me, meant that I needed to find another way to kind of seek out fulfillment in my professional life. And that was entrepreneurship.
I like, as you're all talking, people are nodding and smiling, and when you said scribble, I saw a lot of smiles coming up. What's your journey like as an entrepreneur?
I was just thinking about what Will said and finding your way of working, and I think that's really important because not everyone can work at home or remotely, and not everyone can work in the office. So being really kind of thinking about that when you start your business, I think is really critical. And I like the idea of the scribbling things because you can kind of go down one path when actually you should be over here, or if you're pitching for investment, maybe they tell you to go over here and actually you want to be over here. So there's a bit of that as well.
You can wear two hats. One is like, as an entrepreneur yourself, what were your challenges? And as an investor, what is the advice you would give to an autistic entrepreneur?
Oh gosh, where to start? I'll start with the investment piece if that's okay. So unfortunately, the pitch is still the heart of how you get investment in order to scale up a startup business. There are some funds out there, very, very few, that have done away with the pitch, and they have more of an interview style process. And then if you come to like an organisation like mine, there is still a pitch involved because we are an angel investment syndicate. So we bring in a whole lot of high net worth individuals and family offices, and you sell your story to them, but you will go through a series of basically interview type sessions and discussions with someone like me. Well, actually it is me. So I think learning to pitch is really important, and it's not an easy thing necessarily. I mean, it's not just the neurodivergent community, it's actually all sorts of different communities that are struggling with the pitch because of all sorts of really complicated sort of factors. There are lots of good programs out there to teach you the art of the pitch, and I think it's really worth doing that. And also the art of raising capital and navigating that very non-linear journey, which is really needed in order to get funds to grow the business. Come and have a chat to someone like me. I'm always happy to help people on that journey. But I think more and more autistic entrepreneurs and neurodivergent entrepreneurs are drawing together and saying, all right, how are we going to do this differently? Do we need incubators and accelerators that are just geared for us, as already exists in the US? I think there's ways and means that in the next 5 years we're going to see a lot happening that's going to make it easier.
And I guess it's a journey understanding your neurodiversity and at different parts. Like for myself at least, I was masking for a very long time. I didn't have a diagnosis. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
Now that I'm getting all this language and all these examples, I'm like, oh, that happened to me. Oh, that happened to me. Oh. Have you had any of those aha moments?
Oh, every day.
Do you feel comfortable sharing any?
I'd probably struggle to think of something on the spot, but I mean, as many of you probably appreciate, like unmasking is an ongoing journey. It is peeling back the layers of the onion. Just when I sort of think I'm there, I'm then clearly not. And I still do struggle with sort of the distinction between my work life and then my non-work life. Yeah. And my work life probably does require quite a high level of sort of
masking,
having it all together. And it's not that I don't have it all together, but I also really don't have it all together. It's the sort of navigating.
Not confusing at all, but I think the autistics in the audience do get it. Yeah. One of the first meetings that we had were at Roberto's session at the State Library here in Victoria, just a block away, but we were online. And that was such a raw discussion and such a vulnerable discussion where we all were just sharing our challenges. And I'll share first. Sometimes I really struggle not telling people what I think. And that can be really difficult in business because, you got to keep the clients happy, right? But when you're really angry with the client, and angry is a bad word, but it's like, why are you doing this? So how do you navigate that?
I don't anymore. Like I reduce the amount of people interaction that I have to have because I'm lucky I've got a co-founder. Yeah, as the mask has come off more and more, I'm quite blunt. So if we need someone blunt in a meeting, Emily takes me along. Yeah. But I don't hold back now. Like I'll say how I feel with regards to, situations that we're in. So I'm quite lucky. I'm getting older and I thought, if you're in your 60s, why should you have to mask? So, if there's something where we've got to be a lot more diplomatic, Emily will take care of that on her own. But yeah, so I'm just, being me.
Well, I have thought of rebranding from Just Gold to Blunt Gold. You know, that may be more appropriate. Do you have I struggle with the system. I just find our sector, the social sector, there's no such thing to me yet as an autistic entrepreneurship sector, it's too small, that is very systemic. I don't know what the word is. Is it colonial? Is it Anglo? Is it just white system? Whatever you're going to call it. In my eyes, it's the same. And I kind of struggle navigating through that as an entrepreneur. However, now that I have the disability label, I find that people are nicer to me. Have you seen any changes?
Oh, okay, blunt. The reality is the social enterprise sector sees itself between, if you look at there's an article the South Australian Social Enterprise Council put out, and it's on the Social Enterprise Australia website. They position themselves between charity and business. And that positioning is not good for people in the disability, disabled social entrepreneurs, because it sets up this doing things to us. It's a case of very paternalistic. And so if you look at the certification for disability social enterprises, it's actually organisations that are providing services to disabled people. There isn't the recognition of lived experience and the value of lived experience, and it being more about self-empowerment. And so I'm on a bit of a bandwagon now with regards to the social enterprise sector. That whole charity model is so outdated for the disability sector. Like we're signed up to the Convention to Human Rights, so it should be between human rights and business is where the social enterprise sector should be positioning themselves. It should be about not having things done to us, but about us being empowered to actually bring our lived experience and all the experience we have of the issues that we face on a daily basis, to be able to use those strengths to make a difference in the world.
A better understanding of intersectionality, you may say. Will, where do you sit with that?
I think that there's a tendency to think that social enterprise is all about shoehorning people into a particular category of work. So there is a whole range of businesses which say, these people are great in tech, go to tech, do all the good stuff over there. Or these people are neurodivergent, or they might have some sort of identified disadvantage. So we're going to take them and put them in food service training, for example. Plenty of great causes out there doing that, which is fine. But this shoehorning of people into categories doesn't necessarily listen to what they want to do. So if you start with a blank canvas and say, where would you like to go? How do we help you get there? I think you can have a lot more fulfilled people at the end. So that's, again, a good reason why you start with a blank canvas and let them scribble. What are you trying to do? How do we get there? It respects the person's ideas at the very first possible stage.
The shoehorning thing really resonates with me. I've certainly had the experience when I'm pitching my startup that, oh, that's nice. Where can we donate, or is it a charity? And so instead of actually thinking about, social enterprise as an actual social enterprise, and empowering us. A business, right? Yeah. And just because we're helping, the autistic or neurodiverse community, doesn't mean we're looking for charity. We're actually looking to run a business.
There seems to be a lot more impact investors. What is impact investing? Is it just investing at the end of the day, or?
So it can be defined in different ways. That means different things to different people. And to be clear, like in our where I sit, we are certainly looking for returns on investment. It's just that impact is part of the lens in terms of focusing very specifically on certain groups of founders, because in our case anyway, men get 97% of venture capital funding and women globally get 3% of venture capital funding. But look, for some people, it's an individual preference. There are plenty of investors out there, and it's an absolutely an enormous wave of interest in trying to use your capital for good. and investing in a way that will bring returns that are not necessarily just financial.
Yeah. Has anyone been told in business you do not look autistic? Plenty. How was that for you?
Yeah, plenty. Also oh yeah, I knew all along, which is also, I don't, both responses sort of have me on the back foot, because when I hear that, yeah, I don't look autistic, that annoys me, and when I hear that they knew, that annoys me too.
It depends on the delivery, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sharon?
Coming out as autistic was quite interesting. I had everything from people crying was one, like that was quite. I was quite dumbfounded with that one. But yeah, you don't seem autistic. I never had anyone say that they thought I was autistic, but but there was mainly you never thought of you as being autistic.
Will?
I have got a few that explains a lot in my time. Particularly when I was talking earlier about the open plan work environments and how hostile they can be. I reached a point where I went to the partner I worked for and I said, something has to change because I can't cope in this overly noisy environment. And he said, can you talk to me a bit more about that? What's actually behind this? Because I can see that there's a lot going on and you're sitting there as like a ball of rage. And it's true, I was a ball of rage. And we had this conversation where I said, I actually cannot filter out all this noise. In order to focus, I need this to be fixed. And we began to strategize ways around that. So it was the aha moment for them, which was important.
Interception in business, like being in a meeting and not getting it straight away and leaving the meeting and saying, damn, I could have said that. Or that person was really, really rude to me. Or that person was really nice and I could have just reciprocated and the deal would have been done. So there's some of the plain challenges that I found that we never talk about. So how do we communicate that to neurotypicals, that it's something that simple but gets so complex?
I think we just got to educate people all the time. Like even going to the doctors, like I take journal articles and share with my doctor so that my doctor's informed about, what's happening with regards to the latest research for autism, because it's not only, I'm not only doing it for my sake, but I'm doing it for the other autistic people that come in after me. There's a real lack of research with regards to seniors and autism, which is, there was a study that came out last week from Sweden, and they classed autism, because our life expectancy is so low compared to neurotypicals, they class seniors as 45 and over.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of being an elder, not a senior.
So I thought that was quite interesting. But the gap for falls and the gap for accidents was so much more as you get older for autistic people. So I think we've got to educate, at every opportunity, we've got to educate people with regards to autism so that all of the services that are available for people, especially for younger people coming through, that they're going to be easier for them than they have been for us.
When we first spoke about this session, what was the first thing that came to mind? What did you want to share with everyone?
I think for me, when I had my diagnosis, I was diagnosed with level 2 support needs, and they said the reason you've been so successful is because you've set up the perfect life as an autistic person. I spend most of my time at home. I love my home. I was one of the few people that really enjoyed the pandemic because it was easier to get things in, sort of stuff, like get everything delivered. It was just great. And people that knew me used to joke saying, do you notice any difference, Sharon, sort of stuff, because the fact is I do love being at home on my own. It's my perfect life. And I thought, I have been so successful and I've paid off my house and I've paid off students' debts and everything now. And the reason for that, and I love my work, and it's because I'm an entrepreneur. If I had to leave the house each day and get on public transport and get to a workplace, have to socialise and communicate and try to block out all of the sensory challenges and then get on public transport and come home again, that would just be my life. Like I would be in meltdown stage at the end of each day, and I'd have to recoup over the weekend to do it all again. But I have got the most amazing life, and that's because I am an entrepreneur.
Look, I think what Will talks about for me really resonates very powerfully. I'd take it one step further though and say also that it's just an amazingly awesome time to be autistic, and that the fact that we're now all getting diagnosis, that we can find our tribe because, things like this exist, and, the internet has amazing ways of pulling us together in different groups. I think the opportunity is there also to basically find each other and work on problems together and help each other rise. Look, it sounds a bit cheesy, but I'm actually excited for what the community can do together in terms of impact for the neurodivergent community and beyond.
Part of me thinks we might be too early with the pride conversation down under, but if we look at the world, it's just the right time. What does pride, autistic pride, mean to you?
For me, it is about accepting your difference, and I talk to my family a lot about this as well, is accepting your strengths as a neurodiverse individual.
So for me, what's missing from the narrative is that I think our brains are beautiful. I love my autistic brain. I would not want to be any other way without wanting to cast aspersions on the neurotypical world.
Everybody should be proud of their brain, and you get a brain and you get a brain.
Yeah, go for gold. They can have their brains too, but mainstream society hasn't understood just how delicious it is to be completely obsessed with your special interest and diving into that, and the insane joy that comes from that. And if we can support and channel autistic people to be able to find jobs that overlap with their special interest in a way, then could life get any better? Look, I know there's challenges. I'm not trying to completely sugarcoat it, but for me, the pride really goes to the heart of that piece about, I love this identity and I wouldn't want it any other way. And I hope that, others can feel that way, if not now, once they've gone through a bit of a journey for themselves too.
Sharon, what does pride mean to you? I mean, you've taught me so much about autism. I'm going to keep on saying that till the cows come home. What does it mean to you?
I have got into reading autism researchers, and because I went back and started university qualification number 7, which is ridiculous, but I signed up for a Master of Autism, and I can now, when I pick up a journal article, I can tell if the person is autistic that is writing the article. And just the concepts that are coming from autism researchers that explain how we think, how we live, our joy from our interests. I just think it's just such a special and unique opportunity, the way that we see the world. And when I think of the people like Greta Thunberg and Grace Tame and these passionate social entrepreneurs, and we should just be cherishing these people and just supporting them to create the amazing change in the world that they're already making, but more.
Will, what does pride mean to you?
I think for me it's owning the little quirks that make you who you are. So I'm someone who is an absolute science fiction nut, and it doesn't matter how buried I get in my work, I can still go home and just immerse myself in science fiction. That'll make me a happy guy.
Speaking about joy a lot, but the joy of coming together with other neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
How cool are we, right? And it's, even if someone's not quite your cup of tea, you can have such a good conversation. There is something really shared there that I think's really powerful.
We're celebrating Autistic Pride Day here in Melbourne. This was our 3rd session. We'll be with you shortly. I'm Kyriakos Gold, to infinity and beyond.